Okay, well, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. And it's lovely to see you all. And I can see we have people from Central Africa, East Africa. We have people from America, from all over Europe and the United Kingdom, and even Singapore. So welcome to you all. We have a most wonderful talk for you today. What I'm going to do now over the next 5 minutes is explain who we are, what we do, and then I'm going to hand over to our speaker today, who is a most remarkable man. And I'll tell you about him in just a moment. So the Alpha Group. The Alpha Group, who are we? Well, first of all, let me tell you what our aim is, our vision, our mission. We have a mission to help 1 million business owners, that's SME business owners, all over the world in the next 15 years. Now, in any city, wherever we happen to be established, no matter how big the city, no matter how many thousand businesses, we never, ever allow more than 20 business owners in any one Alpha Group. So we are extremely exclusive, and I have to say we make no apologies for it. But more than that, not only do we limit any group to 20 members, we allow no 2 people from the same industry. An Alpha Group meet. They are a peer-to-peer executive board. They meet around a board table 1 day every calendar month for about 7 hours, helping each other to build, grow, expand, develop, and create. We make one promise and one promise only, and that is that we will help those owners to double the value of their business in 2 to 3 years. And so far, ladies and gentlemen, we have not failed. So what are we? We're a peer-to-peer executive board. We started 9 years ago. We ran the Alpha Group in the United Kingdom for 6 years, many different groups, to make sure we could fulfill our promise. And then 3 years ago, under the leadership and direction of Colin Lindsay, our managing director, we went international. And we now have Alpha Groups in 26 countries around the world, from Singapore to Guatemala City, from Philadelphia to Cairo, Dubai, London, Amsterdam, Sofia in Bulgaria, and many, many others. We are now, I believe, and it's difficult to get these figures exactly, but I am told we're one of the fastest growing peer-to-peer executive boards in the world. We made a decision to create these Foresight Lectures a short while ago. We chose the name very deliberately. Within the Alpha Group, we quite often have a phrase, a catchphrase. We say business owners need to look up and look out. Look up from their business and look out into the world to see what is happening, to see what is coming, be it good or be it bad, be it a threat or be it an opportunity. And one of the challenges is that sometimes as a business owner, we get so focused on our business, we don't look out. So the Foresight Lectures, and today is the first, and we probably have the best speaker in the world, and it will be difficult to beat this. The Foresight Lectures are all about raising awareness of those business owners and helping them to build, grow, expand, develop, and create. So let's talk about our speaker today, Peter Thomson. You know, it has been my honor, my pleasure, to have known Peter for many, many years. In the personal development industry, there are leaders, there are gurus, there are some incredibly good people, but none, and I say this from a position of knowledge, none of the caliber and experience of Peter Thomson. Peter, and I will use the word guru, and I would not use that lightly. Peter is a guru in this industry. He is one of the longest established leaders, trainers, lecturers in this industry worldwide. In fact, the worldwide organization Nightingale Conant, which started the personal development industry in the 20s and 30s, they approached Peter when they wanted someone else to record to re-record Earl Nightingale's most famous works. Who did they go to? They went, of course, to Peter Thomson. Peter has built up over the years the most extensive library of books, audio, CDs, DVDs, lectures, PowerPoints. Honestly, it is a remarkable library, more than anyone I have ever come across. He has helped countless individuals and business owners all over the world. And he has a track record, an unfailing track record of helping these men and women to build and grow. He is renowned for getting results. I put on the screen here his website. It's peterthomson.com. I would urge all of you later, when you have a moment, to go there. He runs some incredible membership organizations, achievers clubs and the like, which again are dedicated to one thing and one thing only: helping you to succeed. So we are not only fortunate, we are delighted, we are lucky to have with us today Peter Thomson. Peter, can I hand over to you?
Indeed you can, Gerard, and thank you so much for those lovely words. I'm sitting here going, I wonder who this speaker is. This is going to be amazing. So I tell you what, I better be living up to the challenge that you set me there by that introduction. So thank you so much for those lovely words. I do appreciate it. And as you were saying so rightly, we've known each other, and with Colin as well, so many years now, and it's lovely we're on a similar path, and always happy to stop by and help each other do what it is we do. So good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted to be with you, and I have this opportunity to share with you some tried and tested and proven ideas for how we can be more successful within our businesses. There is something I need to say right at the start, and it's this. Despite having been in business, would you believe now, for 48 years it is, I was counting it the other day, 48 years, I know I still don't have all the answers. I believe, in fact, that the day we stop learning is the day that we stop earning. The world is moving so quickly. And as Gerard mentioned there, in fact, I've actually got it here. I dug it out for us this morning. This was the very first audio program that I received, and I sent for it because Nightingale Conant said I could have it on a free trial and didn't have to pay for it. I thought, well, I'd be crazy not to. So I had it, and this came in, Lead the Field. And there is a picture of Earl Nightingale on the back of it. And as Gerard also mentioned there, then Nightingale Conant said, would I revoice Lead the Field, which was a bit like being asked to rewrite the Bible, you know, I was so proud to do it. And there is the uncrinkled version of it. And as you can see, there is a picture of me down in this corner here. There's Earl at the top and me down there at the bottom. Would you believe, wearing a suit and tie, and actually certainly with a lot more hair. So that was the start of my learning journey. And ever since, I've been an audio junkie and a lifelong learner, which I think it is, because I found that the secret of success for me is this, and it's this one. It's learning from others. If I want to go there and do it, I better speak to somebody who's been there and done it. And that's the way that I like to do it. And I certainly love learning from others. So what I'm going to go through for you today is I'm going to take you through what I call 3 major accelerators. There's the value accelerator, there's the profit accelerator, and there's the connection accelerator as well. And this will enable you, I believe, from my experience of doing this with so many different people, to increase your turnover, increase your profits, and increase your earnings without having to dig too deeply into your marketing budget. So if you've already built a substantial client list, or you're on the way to building that, yet somehow you haven't seen all of those clients buying everything they possibly could from you, then certainly this is going to help you on that. As Gerard mentioned, I've been in business, and I mentioned I've been in business for a number of years, 48 years. So this is the briefest of history. And I used to be in the investigation business, tracing absconded debtors, would you believe? And within 2 years, we were up to tracing 4,000 people a month. 4,000 people, and it was a great business to be in. And from there I got into the leasing business, and then finally sold that for a chunk of money and was able to retire, semi-retire at age 42. And then I've been spending the last few years doing exactly what Gerard said I was doing. And a number of things that I found over that period is, number one, it is this learning from others. And number two is this one, is that we must have in our businesses, and I've been doing this for 48 years and showing a lot of people, we must have a deluxe offering. Let me talk to you about that investigation business, and this will make it all make sense, and then we'll be joining in together if you wish to in the chat box. In fact, let me make sure my chat box is open so I can see it, yeah. And I'll ask you some questions on that. In the early days in the investigation business, I used to do everything based on a contingency basis. I didn't get paid if I didn't get the result for the client. And you know, sometimes it's worthy taking a moment and thinking to ourselves, What would I do differently if I was only paid if the client got the result that they wanted? Now, that's not to say we're going to do that, but just that very thought process that I had 48 years ago was that we were charging our clients £4. It is a long time ago. £4 if we found the person they asked us to trace, because usually these were people who had absconded debtors, and nothing if we didn't find them. And people said to me, well, how on earth can you possibly do the work and not get paid anything? But of course, they were missing a key thing in business, which is all about the numbers. We were finding on average about 60% of the people. So if we were finding 60% of the people and we were getting £4 for a successful case, in effect, we were getting £2.40 for every case. And that's the same mindset that we have when we're thinking about selling. If we get sales, let's say 3 out of 10 conversations that we have, and no doubt it could be a lot more than that, but 3 out of 10, and we take the income of those 3 sales and we divide it by 10, then effectively we're getting paid that amount of income for every sale or every conversation that we have. And so that's another way that we can prompt ourselves to want to take the action, knowing we're getting, every time we have a conversation, we're getting closer to a completed sale. And every conversation is worth something by the average of doing it. So what I did in top of that then, in the getting £2.40 a case, I decided to have a deluxe version because I like the idea of deluxing. And so where the debt was big enough, clients were happy to pay £25, win or lose. So the deluxe version was worth 10 times the standard version. And this can often be the way it is. If you look at the world as it is at the moment, and we think for the moment about deluxing things, if you go on a plane and you go to New York first class, you can pay about £3,000. Ordinary class about 300 and something pounds. Birmingham to London on the train, depending which train you go on, can be first class £80, ordinary class, I had the number written down here, £27.50. If you go out and buy a small car, a mini 3-door hatch these days costs £16,000. I can remember when they were almost £500. In fact, I remember my brother-in-law buying a minivan for £500. But you buy Clubman these days for £23,000. You said there is the difference. Let me ask you this question. What other examples do you see where there is a deluxe version of a standard version? What is it that you've run across in your life? Just pop that in the chat box while I take a swig of my tea for the moment. What have you got that comes to mind for you? Anything at all there? Anybody going to be typing in the chat box? I don't know if I can. Oh, perhaps it's, yes, it is. Steak. I like it. Maybach versus Mercedes. Absolutely. Wine from Mark. Yeah, very much indeed. Yeah, nice one from Trevor with the Maybach. Very much so. I saw one the other day, actually, in a supermarket, and there was a black version of Worcestershire sauce, I should say, the Lane Perrin sauce. There was the standard version, and then there was the deluxe version, which was the all black bottle. This happens all over the place. You see, here's how I believe it to be, and my experience builds this out, and it does for my clients as well, is that most people are not price sensitive. They are value sensitive. And yes, there are a small number of people who buy on price, but the majority of people buy on value. Over the years, I've interviewed a lot of people because I love learning from others, and interviewing people is a great way to learn. And I remember interviewing a guy called Roy H. Williams, who's known as in the States as the Wizard of Ads. And Roy, over a 40-minute period, taught me so many great ideas, but one of them really, really resonated me, and it was this. And it really changed the way I did business, and I'm sure it will be helpful for you too. And he said, Peter, actually, he didn't say Peter. He said Peter because of his American accent. He said Peter. He said there's a big difference between the relational client and the transactional customer. And he said this, and it's a real takeaway for me. He said, with the transactional customer, they are their own experts and they buy on price. So this is the guy, we'll call him a man this time, who goes out to buy a car. And he knows all the specs, he knows all the details, he knows exactly the car he wants to buy, and he deals with 3 different dealerships, and he beats them up on price, and he plays one against the other. And the only thing he's interested in is buying it at the lowest price. It's purely a transaction. And the only way that you'd upset this person is after they bought it to say, actually, if you went down the road there, you could have bought it £10 cheaper, because it's all about the money. they're their own expert. But with the relational client, and you notice the difference there between client and customer, with a relational client, they look to us, the supplier, the coach, the consultant, the speaker, the mentor, whoever it might be the expert. And therefore, we need to walk like an expert. We need to talk like an expert. We need to have the things that experts have. We need to have a website that reflects our expert status. And I don't mean expert in that old amusing expression of, X is a has-been and spurt is a drip under pressure. Not that sort of expert. The real expert, somebody who's able to bring expertise to the party. Experts tend to have books with themselves as the author. They have books to read, of course, but they have books that they've written themselves. So when we're dealing with clients from a relational standpoint, then price diminishes to become a factor and not the factor. And of course, if we link this into the work of Robert Cialdini, when he talked about how is it that people are perceived as an authority, there are three factors. There's title, trappings, and clothing. So when our name is shown, do we have a title that comes under it, like a strap line in the way that you would maybe with a product? What does it say that separates you from everybody else who might do something similar? I don't tend to think that there are competitors because I don't work there. Strange point of view, but nevertheless, I think it's the way that it really is, that when we're providing services ourselves, they can't be provided by somebody else, so there can't be competition. It's a different thing. We're able to take a stance in the marketplace, which I think we should, because part of our marketing should be to attract the people we want based on our expert status, but also to push away those that we don't want. If we try and attract everybody, we just end up attracting nobody. So having a deluxe version, I'm going to show you a document that you can easily copy in order to do this, is I'm going to suggest that firstly, you take that expert positioning. And secondly, you think of having a deluxe offering that is between 5 to 10 times the price of your normal offering. And I think you will find, as I've found for many, many years, certainly probably 30 years, the last 30 years, that people will, about 10% to 20% of people will want your deluxe offering. Now, the deluxe offering might be more time with you. That might be one of the ways, but let me show you this document. And if you want, I'll pause and you can take a screen grab of it and I'll hold it there. I'm just checking in this, that you can see it. Yes, you can. So if I count down from 5 and you could take a screen grab, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go. So this is the deluxe. And all we need to do is, in the large column here, is to list the factors of our offering. Now, the offering is different from the offer. The offering, think of a ring. The offering is what our product or service has, number one. It's what it does, number two. It's how it benefits the person who buys it, number three. And importantly, in number four, and usually missed out, it's why we have decided to deliver it in this way. So what it is, what it has, what it does for somebody specifically, and why we've decided to do it in this way. Very often clients are always thinking, why? Why should I listen to you? Why should I buy this? Why is that right? Why is that wrong? Why? All the time, the why is coming up. That's why we need to answer that question. So having made a list of the various factors in our offering, then what we simply do in the 3 columns, you can see I've put as an example there, Premier, Deluxe, and Deluxe Plus. I wouldn't suggest that it was bronze, silver, gold, because it's a little bit overused, but it could be. But what 3 words that could you have there? I know somebody who has Diamond and Diamond Plus. So list what comes in the Premier package, list what comes in the Deluxe package, which is usually Premier and a bit more, and then list what comes in the Deluxe Plus package, which is Premier, Deluxe, and a bit more to make that one. And here's a strange thing that I've found over the years with advice from others, and it is true, is that when we position the price of our deluxe product or offering or service compared to the middle one, the deluxe one, so Deluxe Plus compared to Deluxe, we make that gap a little smaller than the gap between Deluxe and the standard one. I'm sure you can have a think about that idea and take it away and use it. So I would suggest you start doing this and test gently in the marketplace. Because if you've not previously offered a deluxe version, I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised how many people say, yes, I would like the deluxe one. I know that's what's happened for so many people that I've shared this idea. And they come back and say, Peter, everybody wants deluxe. It's just the way it is. So that's what I call the value accelerator by using that deluxe template. If you do have any questions at all, by the way, if you pop them in, I'll try and spot them as we go along. And if not, if Gerard says there's opportunity, I can always answer those at the end for you. So the next one I want to talk about now, and I'll just again have a little bit of my tea, is, oh, by the way, a friend of mine, a client who teaches people to speak in public, said the worst thing to drink is water. Because water actually dries your mouth as a speaker rather than refreshes it. Whereas tea with a little scrunch of sugar is really good, or maybe even a polo mint or a mint of some description, something like that. So what I'm going to share with you now is the Profit Accelerator. And the Profit Accelerator is based on 3 key questions of business growth. I learned these questions from a number of people. I learned them from Ted Nicholas, the world's most successful self-published author, sadly died a little while ago. I learned them from Jay Abraham, and Jay Abraham actually learned them from Paul Dunn, who ran Results Accounting Services in Australia and now runs a big charity called B1G1. And these 3 questions are really powerful, and it's really about the mindset about the questions. I came across them, I suppose, first from Jay Abraham when Nightingale Conant, the guy who ran it in the UK, David Hughes, said to me, Peter, I've just come back from Los Angeles and I've been on this seminar with this guy called Jay Abraham, who nobody had heard about in the UK. And he said, it's a very interesting man. He walks that fine line between genius and madness. And I've met him, and I'd say it to Jay if he was here in person. And he said, Peter, you really should go on this event. And I said, okay, well, tell me a bit more detail. He said, well, it's £3,000 to go. $5,000 it was in those days. $5,000. I said, $5,000? You know, this is 20 plus years ago. $5,000 for a seminar? How long is it? A year? He said, no, it's 3 days. 3 days, $5,000. I said, God, it must be a good event then. You see how we think about value and price together, don't we? Anyway, I happen to know the people who are running it, so I negotiated and got in for free, but I still had to fly myself out there, and I'm tall, so I obviously can't go with my knees up against my chest and stay in a hotel and all the rest of it for a week. And people said to me, they said, well, was it worth it, Peter? I said, it was so worth it. I got to learn so much stuff that I already knew. And isn't that often the case when we attend things like this, that we hear ideas that we've heard before, but sometimes we hear them in a way that we're more receptive to them. As the old Heraclitus quote says, no man can step in the same river twice because it's not the same river and he's not the same man. And sometimes revisiting the same idea on a different day, it just resonates more strongly with us and we take it away and use it. So I'd like to share these 3 questions with you, but more than that, I want to share with you the maths that go with it, because it's very simple. And in addition to that, not just the questions, I want to give you some of the answers as well. So here are the questions, and I'll say them slowly. They're very simple. There's actually 4, but we'll do the first 3 quickly. Question number 1, how do I or we increase the number of clients? Now, it could be appropriate that if you're talking to somebody else, you might say the number of customers or the number of patients, but how do we increase the number of clients? Question mark. And that question mark at the end is really the enter key on our neck top computers. I wish I'd thought of that expression. That says, go find answers. So that's the first question. How do we increase the number of clients? Question number 2, how do we increase the average order value? How do we increase the average order value, the AOV? And question number 3, how do we increase the average order frequency? So 3 questions. Number 1, how do we increase the number of clients? Question 2, how do we increase the average order value? And question 3, how do we increase the average order frequency? And I've done these as a little chart for us like this. And you can see it says customers or clients, average order value, AOV, average order frequency, and turnover. Because our turnover is made up of the number of clients we've got multiplied by the average order value, multiplied by the average order frequency. You see I've put the multiplications in, and that equals our turnover. So for example, let's make this nice and simple for it to understand the power of this. And it really is so powerful. Let's say that we have a business together and we have 100 clients. So I'm going to put 100 in that column there. Yep. And the amount that they spend with us each time they spend, in other words, the average order value is also £100. And the amount of times they spend it with us in the period we're looking at, let's say that's a year, is twice. So now our turnover would be 100 times 100 times 2. So 100 times 100, 10,000, times 2, 20,000. So our turnover, I'll put 20K, is 20,000. Nice and simple. Now, what most people do when they're trying to build their business is they focus, and understandably, on increasing the number of customers, clients, or patients. And let's say we did that. It's a bit of a mistake to only do that, but we certainly one of the things we need to do. So let's say that we did that and we decided we could find a way of increasing the number of customers or clients or patients by 10%, a mere 10%. We now have 110 clients still spending £100 twice in the period. And because we've influenced one factor by 10%, we'll influence the result by 10%. So now our turnover would rise to 22,000. However, let's imagine that what we were able to do was increase 10% across the board. So 10% number of clients, 10% increase average order value, 10% average order frequency of purchase. Right, 110 times 110 times 2.2, bigger, is, I'll write at the bottom here, 26,620. 26,000. Or in other words, when we compare it to what we started with, 20,000, that's now a 33.1% increase from the original number. 33%, and that's simply increasing 10% number of customers, 10% average order value, and 10% average order frequency. I've got documents in my files of things I've collected over the years where I've got 103 ways of getting more customers and clients and patients, and 32 ways of getting more average order frequency, and I can't remember the number, it's a load of ways in the middle of that of the average order value. So what I want to share with you now, before we move on to the third accelerator, is some cracking ways in which you can increase the number of clients, the average order value, and the average order frequency. So here we go. The first simplest way, I think, of getting more potential clients into the top of our marketing funnel is to have a systemized, and that's the key word here, a systemized referral process. And that's great. So we're asking our current customers, clients, or patients for referrals in a systemized way. We have a script for the way we say it, we have a system for the way we do it, and we have a timing for when we ask them. And I think if we do that, we get two side benefits as well. And the first side benefit is this: it's a temperature check of our relationship with our client. If we're asking our client for referrals and they're going, well, maybe, then we know something perhaps not right. In fact, there's a lovely expression that sums it up. When the first leaf falls, you know autumn has come to the world. Isn't that lovely? When the first leaf falls, we know autumn has come to the world. So we know there's a bit of a problem. So we're given a heads up, and therefore what we can do is try and do some solving of whatever problems might be there. We certainly know there's a problem. The second benefit is this: it's a retention strategy. And in fact, the fourth golden question of business growth is, once we've got people, how do we keep them? That the retention question, in other words, how do we increase the retention percentage, is the fourth question running after the first three. So number one, how do we increase more clients? Systemized referral with the two hidden benefits. Second point, make the first sale an easy sale. And I found, particularly over the last 27, 28 years, that the easiest sale is a free report of some description. And despite the, and it's the right word, plethora of free information out there, I still find that a good report with a good title, or a good webinar with a good title, or a free book. For example, on my website, as Gerard showed us just recently, I give away this book free of charge. How to write your business book in 5 days or less. And we give it away free of charge. Why? Because I understand the lifetime value of the client, and therefore investing the cost of the book to me to give it away free is something I would happily do all day long. So that's an idea: free book, free report, maybe a webinar or a seminar, something of that where you can demonstrate the value that you can deliver for your client. As it says in that fantastic book, Sales Letters That Sizzle by Gordon Herschel Lewis, fire your big guns first. So if you're going to give a free report away or a free webinar, wherever it might be, then make absolutely certain that you're giving away really powerful information. Don't hold back, you know, really go for it. You know, we don't have any lack mentality, do we? We want to be giving away the real good stuff, right? And maybe there's some download or some video training. understanding that lifetime value is really critical to knowing how much we can spend at the front end of our marketing. Let's look now how we can increase the average order value. And again, I will take a swig of my sweetened tea. Sometimes when I do my webinars, we have them transcribed. Well, we always have them transcribed, but sometimes we have them transcribed by people and sometimes by AI. And some of the AI things they come up with, especially when I speak very quickly and they don't quite understand what I'm saying, is really amazing. And the one that they get wrong so often is when I say, and I absolutely do it on purpose, let me have a swig of my tea. And I run the words together, swig of my tea, and it's amazing what the AI comes up with and it thinks that I've said. So here are some ways of increasing our average order value. Number one, deluxe. We've already talked about it. Having a deluxe offering in there to make sure that we're giving the opportunity to our clients to buy at a level that is what they are looking for. Secondly, bundling. How can we take various parts of our offering? Remember, the offering is what it is, what it has, what it does, and why that way. The offer is the financial side of that. How much do people pay? When do they pay? How much do they pay? And what's the bonuses that come in? And what's the call to action? That's in the offer stage of there. But could we be bundling things together? If we're providing mentoring, could we then provide coaching behind the mentoring? So somebody else is doing the coaching and you're doing the mentoring. I don't know, but there's so many opportunities there for conversation. And of course, a price test, testing our fee rate in the marketplace. I've often found when I've spoken to people who are coaches, consultants, speakers, and trainers, that their fee rate doesn't reflect the value that they deliver. They deliver this phenomenal stuff to people, and yet they're charging at a crazy rate. But anyway, there's a thought for us on price testing. And then the next one, increasing the average order frequency, is how do we program people into a subscription or membership offering? That would be one way of increasing the average order frequency. I do not like the word discount. I think it's a transactional word and not one used in relationships. And therefore, I think that what we need to be doing is we need to be thinking about a different word, but I'll use it for the moment. Could we have a retrospective change of price, value pricing, based on how much somebody spent with us? And can we have what I call a recurring income offering? Or in other words, a subscription or membership program where somebody is able to buy from us pre-programmed over a period of time, a certain amount every month, for a fixed or open-ended period as the case may be. So I think using the Profit Accelerator, you'll be able to use a number of those ideas, but certainly you can take away those 3 golden questions of business growth, and you can be saying to yourself, right, as you go around the world and you deal with other businesses, there's another opportunity I see where they're increasing the average order value, or there's an idea where they're increasing the number of customers or clients or patients. There's an idea where they're increasing average order frequency. There's so much to learn from our interaction with other people and other businesses. So number 3 then is the connection accelerator. And this is the major idea I came up with probably nearly 30 years ago now. And when I'm going in to see a client, in order to help them grow their business, this is the number 1 idea I show them. And I'd like to share it with you today because this is just so powerful. I've done a little bit of prep work and I've done it on a thing here rather than share my screen and swap about. So I've actually written it out. I'm going to show it you. It is called the Magic Matrix. The Magic Matrix. Years and years ago, I used to call it the Windows Opportunity, but now it's called the Magic Matrix. And recently, just in the last year with a software house, I've actually had it made into a piece of software that talks to your accounts package and does the Magic Matrix automatically for you, which is wow. But more of that on another day. For this example today, as we don't have a lot of time together, there's actually 23 ways of using the Magic Matrix, but I'm going to give you the money-making one today so you can take this away and use it. So for this example, the A, B, C, D, E down this, and it's obviously by way of example. I could have made it, 50 by 50, but it'd be more difficult to explain. So a 5 by 5 board here, a bit like a chessboard, but 5 by 5 instead of 8 by 8. For down the A, B, C, D, E, they are the names of our clients. So I'm going to put a big C at the side there. So those are our clients at the side. And along the bottom here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are our products and services. So as this for space, I'll just write the word products there. So we can see we've got a matrix that talks about the clients and the products. Now, this prompts 2 questions. And the really powerful question, this is where the magic comes in, is firstly, do we know who our clients are? Do we have a good CRM system? Are we regularly in contact? You know, some people say to me, oh, I don't want to keep sending emails to my list. And I say, why? And they say, well, people might unsubscribe. And I say, well, that's good news, isn't it? If you send them good quality free information and they unsubscribe, they were obviously the wrong people. So you don't have a don't contact list. We want to have a do contact list. I like to have a do contact list, so I email my list very regularly with great information, you know, that I want to share with people and help them grow and succeed. So first is, do we know who our clients are? Secondly, and here comes the magic, do we know what we sell? Now, you might think this is a strange situation. However, let me tell you a little story. I was on the plane on the way back from Los Angeles, and I was sitting next to a guy who was the sales and marketing director for a very well-known newspaper group. We got on really well. We had a couple of drinks together. We had a laugh. And when I got back, I sent him a copy of one of my books and signed it to him. His name was Peter as well, as it happened. He phoned me back and said, would you come and speak with my senior management group? We're having an away day in Bath and near Bristol. I said, sure. We agreed the fee and off I went. And there was 12 people in the room. They were senior management team of this very big newspaper group. And I asked them this question. I said, can you do me a list, please, of what you sell? Now, when I say sell, don't tell me about features and benefits. Just do me a list of what you raise an invoice for. And there was just the 12 people in the room. I said, now just number the list so we know how many are on the list. And I went to the first person. I said, how many have you got? And I think he said 10. As I went round the room, the lowest number was 6 and the highest number was 20 on the list. So we started with the 20 and we made a list of them on a flip chart. It was really old-fashioned stuff, this was. We wrote them down on a flip chart. And then I went to everybody else individually and I said, change the question and said, rather than what's on your list, what have you got to add? So what have you got to this initial 20? What can you add to it from your list that the person who did the 20 hasn't got? And we went round the room and we carried on listing. Here's the surprising thing, although not so when you've seen it happen a few times. One person could list 20. Collectively, dramatic pause, Peter, 62. 62 items on their list that they could provide to their clients and be paid for, and yet one person in the senior management team, the most they could do was 20. The least person had 6. It was 10 times more. And I've found that in business after business after business after business across the world, as I've spoken about this. Bank groups that think they sell, the managers and assistant managers, who think they have 50 items, have 150. Banqueting groups of hotels who think they have 50, 60 and have over 100. Every single business I've been into worldwide, there's never met anybody ever, who could list exactly what they sell off the top of their head, that way, like that. And here's the magic. If we can't do it, and we can't, if the people in the service department can't do it, and they can't, if the directors can't do it, and they can't, if anybody in the business can't do it, and they can't, there's somebody else that can't do it, and you know who that is. It's the customers, clients, and patients. If we can't list what we sell, they have no idea of knowing what we sell. And I'm sure you've had a situation in your life, or maybe a customer who's told you this, or a client, and they've said, oh, I went into a customer of mine the other day, and they bought an X. And they could buy X from me. Why didn't they buy it from me? I know the answer to that question. We didn't tell them. And that is the simplicity of the solution, is we need to tell people what we sell. And we can do it with the magic matrix. So this is what we're going to do. This is probably the quickest explanation of the magic matrix I've ever done in my life. And why not? To start with then, having listed the clients, customers, patients down this side and listed the products and services across here, we are going to color in the meeting square where the client buys the product or service. I will do a few, for example. Right, there we go. I've colored a few in by way of example. Now, we get some fascinating information. Firstly, we get our overall conversion rate of our products and services to our client base. This client base is worthy of 5 times 5, 25 squares. And I've colored in 10 of them. That's 40% conversion, or let's rephrase, 60% not converted. So there is our opportunity. There are 60% of our products and services that potentially could be sold to this particular client base. Now, it may well be if they bought product one, they won't buy product two. I understand that. But looking at this, and this is what, funny enough, the software does, it looks at this and works out where the opportunities are. Just imagine in this example here, if each of these holes was worth £1,000, right? And there's 25 in total, there's 15 left, that's £15,000 lying there potentially. Could that be converted? Yes. How do we convert it? Oh, well, let's take square B2, which I didn't color in. You can see there, B2. There it is there, B2. Let me put B2 on a separate page. Here's one I made earlier. Very blue, Peter. Here's one I made earlier. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through a two-stage process. When we've spoken to the client, whether that's by email, by letter, by webinar, by phone call, by personal call, whatever it is, and we've told them what we sell, we color in above the diagonal, or you could use conditional formatting on a spreadsheet. When we've sold them, we color in below the diagonal. Oh, and we've got another square colored. So we can go back to our magic matrix and we can color in square B2, because now we've got another square colored in. I won't bother doing that. You can see what I'm talking about. I took this idea into Ginster's Foods. I took this into Ulster Bank. I've taken this into companies and organizations across the world. I've made a fortune with it. All we simply need to do is to be clear who we're selling to, clear what we have to offer. And my view is that we actually don't need to sell things. I don't need to go around the world convincing people. We just need to go around being convincing. We need to be passionate. We need to be powerful. We need to be persuasive. Of course we do. But we don't need to convince people. We don't need to sell people. We need to allow people to buy from us. That's a whole different proposition, as you know. So we can find out our various conversion rates there. We've got the overall conversion. We've actually got horizontal and vertical conversions as well, by product and by services. So many different ways. How do we tell people? I've got a list of 98 different ways of telling people what it is that we do. But you and I know all the basic ones. You know, there's emails, there's webinars, there's sales letters, there's postcards, there's videos, there's trainings, there's Instagram and LinkedIn and posts on Facebook. There's 98 ways that I know. I was going to say hundreds. There's 98 ways that I know that we can actually do that. And that makes sure, of course, that we're blocking out potential other people from dealing with our clients when really they could buy from us. After all, the back end, the average order frequency in our marketing plan is so important, because once we know our lifetime value and we can spend the right amount of money to bring the clients in, then we can capitalize on all of that spend and help them get the outcome that they came for from us in the first place. Well, look, that was a rapid explanation of those various accelerators for you, the deluxing one, as you know, with the connection, with the value, and the value, the profit, and the connection accelerators. I'm certain that you can take those ideas away and use them. And I could talk about this for the next week, let alone for the few minutes I've been doing this. So let me hand back to Gerard. And if there's any questions at all or anything else he wants to ask, I will gladly stay here and do it.
Well, Peter, I don't know what to say. I'm both excited and frustrated. I've been making my own notes as you've been talking. I filled 4 pages and I kept almost slapping myself saying, oh my God, I know this. I heard this 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Why have I not been doing it? And everything leapt out at me, but the one thing that leapt out at me and made me feel in a way bad about myself, because I know it and I haven't been doing it, is the deluxe offering.
Ah, yes.
And I thought, oh, you stupid boy, Gerard. Anyway, right, everyone, what a magnificent talk. This is your opportunity. We're not going to get the opportunity to sit with and in front of Peter very much at all. If you have any questions, please type them now in the chat box. We've literally got limited time, but Peter can perhaps answer just a short few. So please type in any question, and I'll read them out to Peter, and then we'll say goodbye and we'll leave it at that. So please, if you don't know where the chat box is, it's on the bottom of your screen. At least it usually is there. Click on it, type, and we should all be able to see.
Indeed. And Gerard, if anybody wants to put in the key message that they've taken away, then by all means do that. Yes. Okay.
Indeed. And one of the things we always do at the end of every Alpha group, we go around the board table asking our business owners, the members of the board, we ask them either two questions. One is, what was their aha?
Yes.
What was their aha from today? And that's what I'd like to ask you. Or another way is, what was your main takeaway from today? And I would so appreciate it if some of you wonderful ladies and gentlemen could just do a very short little aha, or what was your takeaway? That would be so powerful. And also, from Peter's point of view, I know what it's like when you give a presentation and then there's silence and you wonder, you know. So it's always reassuring and pleasant and exciting when people give you a nice takeaway. So
indeed. Yep, that's right.
Starting to read now, people have started to type. Jeff Jones, of course, put KISS, keep it simple.
Yes.
Well done, Jeff. Yeah, and Jeff, of course, for those of you who don't know it, remarkable Alpha Group Regional Director from up in the Wirral, one of our original founders who is doing phenomenal things and a great salesman himself. So thank you, Jeff. From Noble Manhattan, what tips do you have to retain customers?
Indeed. Okay. I'll a stream of consciousness here. I think the first thing is to contact them. So as I mentioned in partly as we were going through, that a lot of people aren't retained because they simply feel that we're not nurturing them. And I think we need to do that. So I think it's regular contact. I think it's making sure that we are providing information to them. I think it's asking them for their opinion, their advice. And the way that we do this in our business and with our clients is surveys. So we use the power of the one question survey. So I would say to somebody, what's the one question you'd like to ask me about writing a book for your business? What's the one question you'd like to ask me about getting more qualified leads? What's the one? You've got the idea. So I would be suggesting that we can contact our clients on a regular basis and ask them questions and take them into a survey. Then we can take them into a slightly longer survey. And these days, the stats are showing that the highest converting surveys are 3 questions only. So we can be asking, it doesn't mean we can't ask longer ones, but we get higher conversion at 3 questions. And so we can be asking people on surveys, most definitely. I would certainly say the point that I mentioned earlier about going and asking for referrals. This is the most amazing retention strategy because it would be disingenuous for someone to refer us to somebody else and then leave. People don't do that. You would find there was a problem earlier than that. So those are my quick ones on that, Gerard. Yeah.
Great, thank you. From Rohit, he says, I love the reminder that people buy value and are not price sensitive. So thank you for that, Rohit. Jeff, refreshing, enlightening, and a reaffirmation of the presentations that I've seen Peter do in the past. Fantastic.
Yes, that's excellent.
From Ra, the aha was the deluxe offering.
Yes.
Mark has a question. Oh, sorry. From Shirley, thank you, Peter. It was all great, particularly the profit accelerator.
Excellent.
Well, a couple of questions here from Mark Horner. Superb. I'm interested in the percentage difference between the Premier, the Deluxe, and the Deluxe Plus offerings.
Indeed. If I would suggest it's something along these lines, Mark, and again, you're experienced in this, so you'll know to flex this where it feels right for you. But I would think if the differential between the middle one and the top one is in the area of 15 to 20% maximum, whereas the difference between the middle one and the lower one is maybe in the 30% range, then it makes that top one look even more attractive. The reason I work on this is particularly these things is I'm a great believer in without contrast, everything sounds expensive or cheap. And the problem is you don't know which it is. So we always, before we mention any price, need to contrast it to something else. And if the only reason to have a deluxe version that very few people buy, and it may only be 10% of people who buy it, is it's an ideal positioning price for the other things that we have in our offerings. So having that higher price for that deluxe one enables us to contrast those two prices together. And without contrast, as I say, everything sounds expensive or cheap, but we don't know what it is. So I think those are the percentages that would play well for me.
Lovely, thank you. A couple of more ahas from Owen. Thank you very much, Peter. My takeaway is about clarifying what you sell and to whom you sell it to. That's right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ian Pilkington, I love the Magic Matrix and the Deluxe. Okay. And there was another question, if I can find it. I'm just scrolling. There's so many. From Colin. What is the power behind subscription-based businesses?
Oh, wow. Now you've pressed my hot button there, Colin. I love, in fact, everything. I think everything I do is based, everything? Yeah, I think it is. Everything we do is based on either membership or subscription. I love the fact of what we call the long marketing yes, as opposed to the short yes. So this is where somebody says yes and then stays with you for a long time. I started years ago with a subscription program, which was the Achiever's Edge, which was a monthly audio newsletter. It was on cassette. And the average person stayed for 42 months. That meant that the average order value was over £600. Now, when you know that, knowing what you can spend on the marketing, suddenly the whole game changes. And of course, the other thing is it means that you can plan your work with somebody to give them ongoing value, because it does take people time in order to implement the ideas that you share with them. And so you've got this on-term, it becomes relational and not transactional. And so everything in our business is relational. My key colleagues, we've all worked together for 35 years. So we are heavily into relationships. So I think there's the power of it. It's just so powerful both ways around.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Peter. Just the last couple from Jack. My aha today is Magic Matrix, and Jack is from Singapore. So thank you.
Jack. Thank you, Jack.
From Varsha, Peter. Oh, I've lost it again. Peter, thank you for the reminder on referrals. People buy from people they like. Smiley face. So well done.
And in fact, part of the research says that people buy from people they meet regularly in a positive environment.
Ah, that's interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah.
And I'll do the final one from Evan. And Evan is from sunny Dubai. He's a regional director with the Alpha Group, incredibly successful and a wonderful man. Evan says, excellent, thank you, exclamation mark. Number one, the Magic Matrix is brilliant, wonderful tool. Number two, offering distinctions is very powerful. So there are more there, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize if I haven't read them all out. Time is our enemy, of course, it always is. Peter, I just want to say from my heart, a huge thank you for giving your most precious time to us, your knowledge, your gift, your presence, your ideas, and your solutions. It has been a joy and a pleasure. And I know you're off on holiday with your good lady shortly for a month to Spain. So just have a magnificent time and enjoy yourself.
Thank you, Gerard. It's been my absolute pleasure to be here. And thank you, everybody who's been on the call. It's really, it gladdens me to do these things. Thank you so much. And for the lovely feedback you've given me. Much appreciated.
God bless you, my friend. Take care.